What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I am bringing you a review of the facelifted 2023 BMW X7. So BMW introduced the X7 for the 2019 model year, and now 4 years later, they have facelifted it with some new exterior, interior, and under the hood adjustments to improve their largest family hauler. So let's go ahead and check out the 2023 BMW X7 and find out if it is still one of the top options in the luxury 3-row crossover segment. So here at the front is where they have made the most controversial change. So the X7 used to look like kind of just like a bigger X5, but now it was the first BMW to get this new split headlight design that has now trickled onto the 7 Series and the electric i7. Some people really hate this design. I honestly don't think it looks too bad in person. We don't have any M Sport packaging on this car with all of the black accents and black wheels and stuff like that, and honestly, I kind of think that's the way to go on the X7. I think it looks much cleaner with kind of this silver accenting rather than the black. I kind of like these silver fangs down here. Let me give you a frontal view on that as well. We do still have that very large kidney grille that the X7 debuted with, and we do have active grille shutters. You can see that these grills are actually shut when the vehicle is off. They will open up if the engine needs new cooling from this big, massive kidney grille. But yeah, honestly, I don't mind the headlights all that much. I know some people think they look a little bit weird. You can now get them with Swarovski crystals, BMW has just announced, in the headlight if you want to go kind of extravagant. This model does not have that. We have this new copper gray metallic color. I think it looks gorgeous in the sun. I'm hoping that you can kind of see that on the camera. It has kind of like a yellow goldy flake in it. This is a new color for the X7 that I think just really looks great. It sparkles in the sunlight. It is a very, very good looking car in this color. This is a color that I would probably get if I was going to be buying an X7. There are 14 available colors on this vehicle, but you can do one of 40 individual BMW colors if you really want to ball out and get something unique that nobody else has. For the first time ever on an X7, you can now get 23-inch wheels. There are 21 and 22-inch options. Honestly, I really recoil at the thought of having to replace the tires on a 23-inch wheel, so I'd probably just stick with a 21 or 22-inch wheel, but that's just me personally. And here at the back, the changes aren't as extensive. BMW says it has this new 3-dimensional taillight design. I think it looks good. There's nothing wrong here. We have xDrive 40 written on the back here. So we just have the base engine on this X7. We don't have the crazy V8 model, which I'm actually kind of happy about on this model, and I'll tell you a little bit why later. And down here, we do have our tow hitch as well. And that is pretty much all you need to know about what's different on the exterior. So now that we're done with the exterior tour, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space, where the X7 kind of does not excel at being a very large vehicle. We've got this nice split tailgate design, which I have always loved from BMW. You can get that on the X5 as well. So you have this nice folding area down here, making a nice seat where you can sit and watch your kids' soccer games. But as you can see, behind the third row, there is not a ton of space. You only get about 12.8 cubic feet of storage. You've got this little divider car cover to make sure nobody sees what's back here. And you do have a little bit of storage underneath here, so you have a larger version of this that extends if you want to not have the third row up. So folding down the third row is pretty easy. You've got electronic controls for that back here. You're gonna go ahead and hold these buttons down, and then you're gonna see the third row is going to tip out of place. Now, you get 48.6 cubic feet of space behind those second row seats. You can see that back here. Let me go ahead and remove this so you can get a better look at the cargo space. It's a decent amount of space, but here's the problem. You cannot fold these seats down if you get the captain's chairs, which are an $800 option. If you just get a bench seat back here, it folds flat, but I'm gonna show you what happens. So these are the second row seat controls. If I push those, they're gonna slide forward, they're gonna tip forward a little bit. That's it. They don't go any further than that. You can push this button for max seating and it'll go back to the seats, or you can push this button for max cargo. And now it'll fold all of the seats forward as far as they'll go. So yeah, you can get up to 90.4 cubic feet, but as you can see, you're really not getting that with these captain's chairs. The Mercedes-Benz GLS actually has more in the behind the second row and behind the third row, not total. If you do get the regular bench seat of this, you actually will have a little bit more space in the BMW X7 versus the Mercedes-Benz GLS. But if you get these captain's chairs, it kind of just becomes useless as an SUV. You really can't haul large, massive items in this car, which is why I probably wouldn't get these captain's chairs if I were buying an X7. And now that I've shown you why I probably wouldn't buy those captain's chairs, let's go ahead and check them out anyway and find out if the rear seat comfort is maybe worth that sacrifice in cargo hauling capacity. I'll give you a spoiler. The answer is no, not really. These are very nice seats. You get some nice bolstering, just like you would on a front seat. You get these pillows in the back of the headrest that I got to admit are extremely comfortable. But these seats are heated and they're power adjustable, so you have your power adjustment here, which is quite nice. But you don't have to get the captain's chairs to get this power adjustment. You can still have power adjustable seats even if you get a bench back here. You do also have these armrests that kind of tip up and then you can lock them into place. But honestly, I don't think that the comfort is that much better on these seats than you would get on just the regular bench seat back here. Also, we do have climate controls back here, which is quite nice. So this is dual zone climate control here in the back. We have dual zone up front, obviously. And as you'll see, we have a separate climate zone in the third row. So this is actually 5-zone climate control. You can adjust all of that here, AC, heat, whatever. And you do have heated seats, but no ventilated seats in the second row. And you might be wondering, well, I don't really need ventilated seats in the second row, but the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade do that for under $50,000. So the fact that BMW still doesn't offer that on a vehicle that costs nearly $100,000 kind of feels like an oversight to me. We've got this little console down here that says X7 on it. You've got your cup holders, you have your 110 outlet and 2 USB-C ports. You also have USB-C ports here in these little things right here. You can buy an attachment from the dealer to get like an iPad holder or a coat hanger, like other things that kind of plug and click into place here. And as you can see, my legroom is fine, but it's not amazing. This is not like Chevy Suburban levels of legroom. I only have about 37.6 inches back here. So even though this is a massive vehicle from BMW, this is the biggest SUV they sell, it's really not that great in terms of legroom. The Mercedes GLS does have more in the second and in the third rows. Now in terms of creature comforts, we do have some cool controls here on the door. You can lower and raise the sunshades here on the back door. I can use this button to open and close the sunroof in the third row. That's right, the third row has its own sunroof, which is kind of cool. And I can use this button to open and close the main sunroof. So there are some cool things that I can do here. But again, the captain's chairs aren't really strictly necessary for that. So because I have the captain's chairs, I could obviously like maybe hop between them. Although, because the armrests are here, you don't really have a great pass through to get into the third row. Luckily, BMW makes it pretty easy to get into the third row. You just tip the seat forward. It's gonna automatically move the front seat forward if it's pretty far back. I like to kind of lean back on my seat. And then as you can see, the seat is going to move forward as far as it can go. It's gonna tip up, giving us a decent amount of space to get back there, but again, not huge. I should also mention that back here we have some controls. These can raise and lower the third row seats. So if you're not all the way back there at the trunk, you can still do that from here, which is kind of a nice touch. This also has nice leather here. Let's go ahead and check out the third row comfort. So to put the seat back, all you have to do is lean it back and it will automatically move. As you can see, there is not going to be a ton of legroom back here once the seat fully moves back. There we go. It's about to touch. Yep, there we go. It sensed my knee and it stopped. I have very little legroom back here, only about 33 inches of legroom, so not the largest third row available in a vehicle like this. You'll definitely get some more from something like a Lincoln Navigator or a Cadillac Escalade, and in fact, the Mercedes-Benz GLS. That being said, we do have heated seats back here, which is quite nice. We do have our own separate climate control panel, as I mentioned, and our sunroof. However, oh, never mind. We do have a button. I was gonna say, it would be weird if there was no button to close it from back here, but we do have that back here. We've got our own cup holders, albeit small ones back here. And if you lift up these little segments, you do have your own USB-C ports back here. But this area is really only big enough for small children. I wouldn't really want to put an adult back here, at least not for very long. And as I've said before, I cannot stress this enough, I would not spend $800 to get these captain chairs unless you knew that you really weren't using your X7 to haul anything big. And last but not least, let's take a look at all of the creature comforts that you get here in the first row. I've been playing around with the seats a lot, so I'm gonna have to move my front seat back. We're gonna go ahead and start up the X7. We've got the nice glass controls here. I've always loved these from BMW. You also get a lot smaller of a shifter than you get before. It's just this little crystal nub with our crystal start button. Let's go ahead and hit it up and fire up the updated interior, where we do have a lot of new stuff to talk about. We've got the curved iDrive 8 controls. So that means a 12.3-inch gauge cluster with a 14.9-inch touchscreen. I have gone pretty well into detail on these on a couple of other BMW videos. Go ahead and watch my video of the all-electric BMW iX and you'll get a pretty good look at this. I do really love BMW iDrive 8. It's got wireless CarPlay, it's got wireless Android Auto. It keeps hearing me say that the automaker that builds this X7, because it wants to trigger the voice control. But it is a really good system. It does have good voice command functions as well. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of with iDrive 8.0 is that they have deleted all of the physical climate controls. You can see down here, all we have is a single volume knob, play, rewind, and then we have our front and rear defrosters. There are no other physical buttons down here to control stuff. You have to access a separate climate control menu for things like heated seat, fan speed, all of that. And I would much rather that just be a button. They also deleted one of my favorite features, which are the 1 through 8 favorite buttons that you could save radio stations and GPS destinations and all of that kind of stuff on. So I am a little disappointed in that, and I'm hoping that in the next year or so, they realize they made a mistake and bring that back. The other new thing that we have here on the X7 is this ambient light bar. You can see that it has kind of this pattern here with X7 there. This lights up at night. It can also light up when you get a phone call and do a couple of different other animations as well. If you get the M60 V8 version of this car, it will say M on it instead of X7. It is a nice addition. It's not quite as nice as the one that you get in the BMW 7 Series, but it is quite nice. We have a $3,950 executive package. So we have the 16-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. We get the Sky Lounge roof. I believe that the panoramic roof is standard, but this is the Sky Lounge roof. So you get these little dots in the roof that at night glow in whatever ambient light color you have, which is really pretty, honestly. You get heated and cooled cup holders, which is a great feature. You also get soft closed doors. You get those rear sunshades that I showed you before. You get the glass controls. You get these massaging front seats. Honestly, I think the massage is kind of meh. Definitely not the best massage function that I've gotten. And you get the gesture controls, so you can control the stereo using just your hand. If you want to save a little bit of money, you can just get a premium package for $1,850. It just gets you the Harman Kardon, the soft closed doors, the sunshades, and the gesture controls. You don't get the Sky Lounge, and you don't get the heated and cooled cup holders. So just something to think about if you want to save a little bit of money. If you want to ball out, you can get the Bowers & Wilkins audio system with 20 speakers for $3,400. I've heard that system. It sounds incredible. We also have a parking assistance function for $900. It's the best $900 you'll ever spend. You get these amazing cameras. You get the ability that this car can kind of record a path and drive. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and record a path, right? So I'm going to go ahead, back up. Let's see. and then it'll basically like drive into the driveway. So I drive a path, let's see, like this. And then let me click save recording. Recorded path 1, okay? And then I'm gonna click start backup assistant. And I'm gonna click reverse. And now it's going to do what I just did, but in reverse. So if you have kind of like a tricky driveway that you don't want to back up and, you know, hit trees and rocks and stuff like that, the car will do it itself, which is kind of a cool function, and you can now do that from the app as well. So this car is a tech tour de force. You get a ton of technology, including the engine, which we'll talk about right now. All right, so now let's get the facelifted 2023 BMW X7 out on the road. I have loved the BMW X7 and how it drives ever since I first got to drive it a couple of years ago, and now I'm driving this facelifted model, and I'm actually pretty happy that they sent me the base xDrive 40i model, because I have always argued that this is really all you need out of an X7. You get BMW's really nice B58 3-liter inline 6 with a turbocharger. They have upped the power tremendously. 40 horsepower and 52 pound-feet of torque increase over the previous non-facelifted X7. So now we have totals of 375 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque, still going out through an 8-speed automatic. And since it's the xDrive 40i, it is all-wheel drive. There is no rear-wheel drive variant of the X7. And I have always believed that this was plenty of power for this type of vehicle. It's a 6-seater or 7-seater. You don't need anything too crazy. 0 to 60 happens in just 5.6 seconds. So let me go ahead and push the sport mode button. All BMWs with this 8-speed automatic transmission have launch control, including this one, even though it is not like an M product or anything. So foot on the brake, foot on the gas, build up the revs. Woohoo! Sweet sound. Whoa, oh, it's pretty quick and plenty of acceleration. If you need your big, comfy luxury cruiser to hit 60 miles an hour quicker than 5.6 seconds, that's just silly. I really think that this is plenty of power. And it gets not great fuel economy. I mean, 21 mpg in the city, 25 on the highway, and 22 combined, but that is a lot better than the V8 model. So the V8 model is now called the M60i. It used to be called the M50i. Still a 4.4 liter twin turbocharged V8, 523 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. Those are significantly more than this inline 6 has. It sounds a lot better. You're gonna get from 0 to 60 in just 4.5 seconds, but I don't really think that split second, that 1 second advantage is really gonna get your kids to school in a timely manner. If they miss the bell by 1.1 seconds, then maybe you just need to wake up a little bit earlier in the morning. And it's not worth the fuel economy drop either. That V8 model is only gonna get 16 mpg in the city, 21 on the highway, and 18 mpg combined, and I think you're gonna be lucky to get those numbers. Like, that is really abysmal fuel economy. And what are you doing? You're probably just getting speeding tickets in your X7 with your V8 engine. So honestly, I say just get this xDrive 40i model. You'll be just fine. But if you do want absolute lunacy, I should mention that there will be an Alpina XB7 later this year. It's going to take the power of that V8 and tune it up to 630 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in just 3.8 seconds, and you can go 180 miles an hour with your family in tow if you're feeling silly. So now let's just talk about how the X7 drives, because this has always been a standout characteristic of this vehicle. It drives better than almost everything in its class. We've got standard 2-axle air suspension with active roll stabilization and rear wheel steering, which means when you take it around a corner, even though we don't have the sportiest like M Sport version of this car, you're going to be getting very little body roll. This is an extremely athletic vehicle. I really like to compare the X7 to an NFL lineman. Let's just say Jason Kelce of the Philadelphia Eagles. He is a big dude, but he can move, man. If you've ever seen those offensive linemen run, if you were to race one, you just wouldn't believe how not only fast they are in a straight line, but just how maneuverable and how athletic they are. And that is how I feel driving this BMW X7. It hustles, man. I honestly can't believe it grips the road like it does. I can't believe it stays as flat as it does. I can't believe the steering is as dynamic and as pinpoint as it is. It really is a pretty fun vehicle to drive, even in this base xDrive 40i trim. There is something about this facelifted model that I think is a little weird, and I should point that out. I'm not sure if it has to do with the dynamic handling pack, which is $3,300 extra. It adds integral active steering to this car with speed sensitive controls. So what that means is when you're just moving around a parking lot, the steering gets very light. When I'm doing this type of driving, especially in sport mode, the steering is gonna kind of tighten up a little bit. And I think that maybe BMW's calibration of this is a little bit weird when combined with the rear axle steering. I've noticed a few times when I'm finishing up a turn and I go to straighten out the wheel, the car kind of doesn't settle quite properly. It's a little bit unsmooth. I am getting a little bit more used to it the more I drive this X7, but it is something that jarred me just a little bit when I first got into it. If you're not really super in tune with what a car is doing, you might not even notice it, so you can maybe just ignore what I'm saying, but I did want to point that out, and it's something that I didn't notice the last time I drove an X7, which was a pre-facelift model. So just something to note if you are looking at this 2023 X7 or beyond. So something to know. That being said, the air suspension is phenomenal. This car, despite being one of the sportiest vehicles in its class, still rides beautifully, even with the 23-inch wheels that this one is equipped with. When it goes over bumps, it handles them beautifully. It has road preview as part of that dynamic handling package, which means it's able to scan the road ahead, and if it senses a bump, it can automatically adjust the suspension before you hit the bump, soften it, firm it up, whatever it needs to do to make the ride better. So I will say that this thing excels in how it drives. I think this is up there with one of the best driving three-row vehicles that I've ever driven in terms of comfort and in terms of sportiness, how it drives. So if you are somebody who just really loves driving but has to have a vehicle that's large and also comfortable to fit your family, the X7 is still a great option in that regard. All right, so let's wrap up by putting a price on the 2023 BMW X7. As I've mentioned, I think that this xDrive 40i model is all the engine that you really need for an X7. It starts at $77,850, so comparable to something like a Mercedes-Benz GLS, a lot cheaper than something like a Range Rover, but we have plenty of options on this X7. We've got luxury options, comfort options, we've got performance options, bringing the as-tested price to $97,195, which again, I still don't think is all that bad given how much some other vehicles in this segment cost. And especially considering how much money you save by just getting the inline-six engine. If you were to step up to the V8 M60i, it's gonna start at $103,100. So about $6,000 more than this xDrive 40i version, even with all of the options that we have. So again, I think you can really just save a lot of money, about 35 grand just stepping down to the inline-six, and I think you'll be perfectly happy with this engine. If money is no object, you can pretty much double the price of the xDrive 40i by getting the Alpina XB7. It costs $145,000 to start if you really think that you and your family need to go 180 miles an hour on the Autobahn. Unfortunately, there are no highways in America where you can do that speed, so I don't really recommend that buying that BMW X7 Alpina unless money is no object and you just don't really care. I think that this xDrive 40i model is all you really need. So that was the 2023 BMW X7. Let me know in the comments what you think about the X7's new styling. Would you choose it over a Mercedes-Benz GLS or a Land Rover Range Rover? I really want to hear from you, your opinions on this, because there are a lot of things I do like about the X7, and as you saw in the video, there are a few things I don't like. As always, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the 2023 BMW X7, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. I'll see you next time.